Dad said. "You're a joke, your job's not even real." And Mom laughed. I quietly transferred $50,000 to their mortgage and walked out. 3 hours later, they were begging me to answer my phone. It all started at a dinner I never wanted to attend. My sister, Claire, had organized it, a rare full family gathering at our parents' place in Connecticut. I was 28, living in my own downtown loft, self-made through what my family still liked to call his internet stuff. That stuff happened to be a SaaS company I'd built from scratch, faceless but profitable, running lean and scaling steadily. I had early crypto wins too, and a couple of faceless YouTube channels generating passive income around the clock. None of that mattered at that dinner table. Not to them. My brother Matt, the financial advisor in a stuffy midtown office, was already holding court about mutual funds and real assets. My sister, a teacher, nodded approvingly as my mom beamed at them both, sipping from her wine glass like she was hosting royalty. I knew how this night would go, it always did. But I came anyway. Maybe out of habit. Maybe hope. That's when it happened. Right as the roast chicken was being passed around, Dad turned to me, fork in hand, and said it. "So, still playing entrepreneur, huh?" He chuckled like it was clever. "You're a joke, son. Your job's not even real." Mom didn't miss a beat. She laughed. Loudly. Not the kind of laugh that says, "Oh, Harold, stop teasing." No, this one had teeth. She laughed like she'd been waiting to do it for years. And just like that, everyone at the table froze. Except them. Except the ones who thought I was a kid playing dress-up while the grown-ups did the real work. I said nothing. Not a word. Just stared at my plate as their voices droned on, the air suddenly thicker than the gravy. But something inside me was done. The silence I held wasn't weakness, it was a decision forming. And when I finally stood from that table, excused myself with a calm smile, and walked out into the driveway, nobody noticed. They didn't ask where I was going. They didn't care. That was their last mistake. I sat in the car for a moment, engine off, just breathing. The kind of breath you take when you realize something snapped, and it's not going back to how it was. My phone buzzed on the passenger seat, Claire texting, asking if I was okay. She was the only one who ever asked that. But I didn't answer her. Not yet. Instead, I opened my banking app. My hands were steady. I scrolled to the mortgage account. My parents had refinanced last year to help cover some renovations, something about adding value to the home before retirement. They thought I didn't know. But I always knew. I'd seen the paperwork when Mom had left it out on the counter during one of my visits. Balance, $47,823 and change. I wired $50,000 to the account. No memo, no name. Just one word on the transaction. Paid. It went through instantly. Just like that, their mortgage was gone. I looked at the screen for a while, letting the weight of it settle in. Then I turned the key and drove off into the night. No calls. No goodbye. Not even a door slammed to mark my exit. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even hurt anymore. I was done. And for the first time in my life, I felt absolutely clear. Crystal. It took 3 hours for the first call to come in. Dad's name lit up my screen. Then Mom's. Then both again. Rapid fire, like they just realized something very real had happened and couldn't hit call fast enough. I didn't answer. I wanted them to sit in it. And they did. I could feel it through the buzzing phone, the panic, the confusion. They weren't calling out of love. They were calling because their reality had just tilted, and they had no idea how or why. By midnight, I had 20 missed calls and 3 voicemails, all variants of my mother's voice cracking with emotion. "Please call us back, we didn't mean it, we didn't know." They knew. They just never thought I'd do anything about it. And now? Now they were begging. The next morning, I woke to 42 missed calls and 9 voicemails. The most recent one was Dad, his voice low, rattled, not like him. "Son, call me back. Please. We need to talk." That please hit different. This was the same man who once told me at 19 that YouTube wasn't a future, it was a phase. The man who, when I tried explaining passive income, rolled his eyes and said, "You mean you're unemployed?" Now he sounded like someone trying to keep from drowning. I listened to one voicemail from Mom, just one. "Sweetheart, we didn't mean what we said. We were joking. It's just, you never talk about your work. We didn't know. The bank called us this morning and, oh honey. Did you really? Did you pay the house off? Why? Why wouldn't you tell us?" Her voice cracked at the end, and I could hear the tremble in it. That guilt. That realization. I sat on my couch, coffee in hand, phone buzzing on the table. And I felt nothing. Not anger. Not pride. Just peace. For years I had taken every jab, every little condescending comment with a smile. I thought if I just succeeded hard enough, they'd finally see me. Really see me. But they didn't. And I'd let them get away with it because I didn't want to lose them. Funny how losing them finally made me feel free. They thought the money was a thank you. It wasn't. It was a door closing. By noon, Claire texted again. "They're freaking out." "What happened?" I didn't reply. Not yet. Instead, I did something else. I opened Zillow and typed in Claire's zip code. Claire always believed in me. When I was up at 2 a.m. editing faceless videos in my college dorm, she was the one sneaking in snacks and saying, "You're gonna figure it out." When Bitcoin dipped to almost nothing and I doubled down, she didn't call me stupid, she asked how wallets worked. She was my first subscriber on my productivity channel, and the only one who ever sent me a message that just said, "Proud of you." So when I searched Zillow that afternoon, it wasn't for me. It was for her. She was still renting a tiny 2-bedroom townhouse with her husband and baby girl, working overtime just to stay ahead of the bills. She never complained. Never asked for anything. I found a 3-bedroom craftsman house just outside of town. Quiet street. Fenced backyard. Sunlight across the hardwood floors and the listing photos. $312,000. I called the agent that same day. Told him I wanted to close in cash if we could move fast. No bargaining. No back and forth. Just wrap it up and get her in. "Is this a surprise?" the agent asked. I smiled. You could say that. That night, I finally texted Claire back. "Hey. Something came up. Can we talk tomorrow?" She responded immediately. "Of course. You okay?" I stared at the screen for a long moment before replying. "Yeah. Actually. I think I am." I didn't pick up my parents' calls. I didn't check their texts. My focus was locked on something better, building something real for the one person who had always seen my value. Not because of a job. Not because of money. But because she knew who I was long before anyone else did. I met Claire at her favorite diner the next morning. The kind with red leather booths and a jukebox that only played crackling oldies. She had her baby in a carrier, bouncing it gently with one hand while sipping coffee with the other. She smiled when she saw me, but her eyes searched mine, worried. "You disappeared after dinner," she said softly. I sat down, took a breath. "I know." She waited. She always waited for people to come to their own words. "They laughed at me," I said. "Dad, Mom, called me a joke. Said my job's not real." Claire winced. "I heard it. I was gonna say something, but you left so fast." "I know." I nodded. "That wasn't the first time. But it was the last." Her brows pulled together. "What does that mean?" I slid my phone across the table. The mortgage app was still open, showing the $50,000 transaction. She looked at it, then up at me, blinking. "You paid off their house?" Her voice was a whisper. "You just did that?" "Yeah. But why?" I took a long sip of my coffee before answering. "Because I wanted them to know what a fake job can do. And because I'm done waiting for their respect." Claire stared at me, her expression somewhere between awe and disbelief. "They called all night," she said. "Mom's crying. Dad's different. Like something shattered." "Good," I said. "Let them sit with that." Claire looked down at her baby, rocking her gently. So, what now? You cutting them off? Not exactly. I pulled out a manila folder and slid it to her. Inside were the first closing documents for the house, the one I picked for her. What's this? She asked, opening it. Her eyes scanned the first few lines. And then she froze. You didn't. She started, but I cut her off. It's yours. You move in next month. Her mouth dropped open. No. No way. This is too much. No, Claire, I said firmly. This is just enough. You're the only one who's ever treated me like I mattered, even before the money. This isn't charity. This is gratitude. She covered her mouth with one hand, the other gripping mine across the table. Her eyes were glassy, but she didn't let the tears fall. Claire never cried easily. I don't know what to say. Just say you'll make it home. And she nodded. That night, my parents called again. 15 times. Then 40. By morning, the voicemail box was full. They weren't worried about the money. They were scared of what it meant, that I had more power in silence than they ever had in control. I finally picked up on the 47th call. Dad's voice cracked through the line, hollow and raw. Son, we didn't mean it. We were wrong. About everything. Yeah, I said, calm as glass. You were. Please, we didn't know how well you were doing. We thought. You thought I was a failure. I interrupted. That's always been the story, hasn't it? Matt, the advisor. Emily, the teacher. And me, the dreamer who never grew up. Silence. That money? I said slowly. That was goodbye. Don't ever talk down to me again. I hung up. Didn't wait for a response. Didn't need one. The silence that followed was louder than any apology they could have offered. Days passed. I didn't block them. I didn't need to. I just stopped being reachable. I stopped playing the son who needed their approval. That man didn't live here anymore. Instead, I focused on Claire. We spent afternoons walking the empty halls of her future home, imagining furniture placement and paint colors, laughing about how her daughter already claimed the sunniest room. Watching her joy was the only validation I'd ever needed. I realized that showing someone love, quietly and consistently, would always mean more than saying it out loud between insults. My SaaS business kept humming. Crypto dipped and rose again. The faceless YouTube channels? Still bringing in revenue, 24/7. The world moved forward. But my parents? They stayed frozen in that dinner moment, and I let them. It was Claire who told me what happened next. She went to visit them, out of obligation, maybe, or to test the temperature. They're different, she said afterward, curled up on my couch with tea. Dad's not shouting anymore. He's quieter. Like someone who just realized he's not in control. And Mom? Claire exhaled. She cries. A lot. She asked if I thought you'd ever speak to them again. I shrugged. Depends. Do they want a son? Or do they want a prop for their success story? Claire didn't answer. She didn't have to. That weekend, I received a letter in the mail. Real paper. Handwritten. It was from Dad. The handwriting was shaky, more so than I remembered. Inside was a simple message. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just want you to know I'm ashamed. You deserve better. You always have. That should have been a moment of relief. But it wasn't. Because it still wasn't about understanding. It was about guilt. And guilt has a shelf life, I've learned. When it spoils, people forget why it ever mattered. They wanted back into my life. But I had built something without them. Something peaceful. And peace wasn't something I planned to give up easily. 2 weeks later, they showed up. I was at Claire's new house, helping her assemble a ridiculous jungle gym for her daughter in the backyard, when she froze mid-laugh and glanced toward the driveway. They're here, she said, her voice suddenly flat. I turned. Sure enough, there they were. My mother stepping cautiously out of the car, arms tucked into herself. My father trailing behind, eyes searching, unsure. They looked older somehow, thinner, smaller, like the last few weeks had weighed more than they were built to carry. They didn't walk up to me right away. Instead, they hovered by the sidewalk like guests who weren't sure they were welcome. Claire looked at me. "What do you want to do?" I stood. Took off my gloves. Walked down to meet them. They didn't speak first. So I did. "This isn't your house," I said. "It's hers. If you're here to talk to her, you can ask." Mom's eyes were glossy. "We wanted to see you." "Why?" Dad cleared his throat. "To say thank you. For what you did. For the house." "You mean the money," I said, my voice calm. "It's okay to say it. That's what mattered, right?" "No," Mom said quickly. "That's not. We didn't realize how far you'd come. How successful you were. We were wrong." I tilted my head. "That's not the part that hurt. You know that, right? It wasn't about what you thought I made. It was that, for years, you thought I made nothing of myself." Dad looked at the ground. "We were proud of you. Just, not in the right way." I almost laughed. "Funny. Pride doesn't usually sound like mockery." There was a pause. Mom finally spoke, voice shaking. "What can we do to fix it?" That was the moment. The moment where I could have said, "Apologize and we'll move on." Or, "Let's start over." But I didn't want to. I didn't need to. "You can earn it," I said. "The way I did. Day by day. You don't get shortcuts anymore." Mom reached out, but I stepped back. "No more emotional IOUs," I said. "Respect is something you build. From here on out, I don't owe you anything." They stood there, stunned, unsure. Then Claire stepped forward, holding her baby in one arm. "Thanks for stopping by," she said politely, but with finality. "We've got work to do." They left without another word. That night, I drove home with the windows down and no music playing. Just the hum of tires on pavement and the pulse of my own heartbeat, steady, unbothered. It felt like the end of a season. Not a dramatic finale with fireworks or shouting matches, but the kind of quiet closure that creeps in when you finally reclaim your time. The blueprint for the rest of my life was beginning to take shape. It wasn't going to be about proving anything anymore. Not to them. Not to anyone. I had spent years chasing that elusive nod of approval, wearing success like armor, thinking if I just stacked enough accomplishments, they'd finally see me. But now I was building for myself, and for people like Claire, who showed up when there was nothing flashy to gain. So I got to work. Not on more YouTube automation or new SaaS features, though those still ran like machines. No, I started a new project, a scholarship fund for kids like I had been. The ones who felt invisible at their own dinner tables. Creative, restless minds who didn't want to go to law school or become financial advisors. Kids who wanted to make things. Build things. Try things. Fail loudly and bounce back louder. I called it the Real Job Fund, just enough of a jab to make me smile every time I said it out loud. Claire helped me file the paperwork. She offered to run a social media page for it, even joked about teaching workshops. Her daughter, my niece, became the accidental mascot when I posted a photo of her playing on her new jungle gym with the caption, "Build them a safe place. Watch what they grow into." Within a month, applications started coming in. One was from a 17-year-old girl who was building a custom keyboard brand and wanted to scale production from her garage. Another from a boy running a Minecraft server with thousands of active users who had no idea how to turn it into a business, only that he believed he could. Reading their letters felt like opening my own journal from 10 years ago. The first grants were small, $2,000 here, $5,000 there, but they mattered. They mattered more than any viral CPM spike ever had. Meanwhile, my parents remained in the background. Not gone. Just quiet. Claire said they'd been talking to a counselor. Together. Which shocked me. But she didn't push the topic, and I didn't ask for updates. That wasn't my responsibility anymore. I'd let go of trying to be the one who mended every crack in our history. If they wanted a relationship with me now, they'd have to do what I did. Build it. Autumn rolled in quietly. The leaves around Claire's new house turned gold and brittle, her daughter's giggles echoing through the backyard as she waddled through leaf piles. I stopped by every weekend, sometimes to fix things around the house, sometimes just to sit on the porch and drink coffee with my sister in the cold. One Sunday morning, she handed me an envelope. "They asked me to give you this," she said, a little unsure. "They've been trying to figure out how to talk to you without pushing." It was another letter. Dad's handwriting again. Shorter this time. "We saw the foundation. We've been reading about the kids you're helping. I didn't know people like you were out there, building things that don't wear your name but leave your mark. I'm sorry for not seeing that sooner." It was signed by both of them. Mom had drawn a little star in the corner, like she used to when packing my school lunches as a kid. I read it once. Then again. Then folded it back up and tucked it into my coat pocket. I didn't respond. Not yet. Instead, I spent the next week doing what I always did, building. But now, it wasn't out of spite or hunger to be noticed. It was out of rhythm. Like breathing. The second round of scholarship winners came in. One girl from Missouri was designing a mobile app to help high school kids track their mental health. A boy in Toronto had made a tool that generated audiobook summaries from PDFs. I sent each of them a congratulatory video message, told them to keep going, no matter who told them it wasn't real. After that, I didn't think about the letter again until Thanksgiving. Claire was hosting. First time she'd ever done it, and she was going all out, table runners, centerpieces, the works. She even made name cards. I joked that she was turning into Mom. She smiled, a little distant. "They're coming," she said. I nodded. I figured. "I can ask them not to." "No. It's okay," I said. "This is your house. Your day." When they arrived, I was in the backyard playing with the baby. I saw their car pull up. Mom stepped out in a long coat, eyes darting toward the house like she wasn't sure she belonged. Dad got out slower. He looked older than he had in the summer. Not sick, just quieter. We didn't make a scene. No one cried. No big speeches. Just a quiet nod from across the yard. Inside, we sat at opposite ends of the table. Claire did most of the talking, filling the air with stories about her students, the baby's new words, the neighborhood book club she joined. At one point, Mom tried to pass me the mashed potatoes. I took them. Said, "Thanks." She blinked fast, like she was holding something in, but she didn't say a word. And that was okay. We weren't whole again. Not by a long shot. But the wall had a door in it now. Later that night, after everyone left, Claire found me in the kitchen, scraping pie plates into the sink. "You did good," she said. "I didn't do anything." "Exactly." She smiled. "And that's why it worked." I didn't forgive them that night. But I let the door stay open. And that's the difference. Not everything needs a dramatic reunion. Sometimes, just showing up without expecting applause is enough to start something new. They haven't asked for help again. They haven't needed to. Because now they know, I give when it's earned, not when it's demanded. Claire's daughter is growing up in a home full of light. My foundation is growing, quietly changing lives. And me? I'm finally living, not just proving. Some revenge is loud. Mine was a whisper with weight. And it worked.